I'm sorry I couldn't be at the conference, but I'm very honored to contribute a little information. I hope that by now you're learning some important things about the concept of flow. I think most of us have experienced flow one time in our life, and the concept of being able to reproduce it begins to make it a skill. So all of this information that you're learning in this particular weekend is an opportunity for you to retreat from your lives for just a few days and to remove the constant stimulation in your external environment that reminds you of who you think you are as a personality. To separate yourself from the people you know and the places you go and the things that you do every day at the exact same time, long enough for you to begin to embrace some concepts that you want to believe in. And the process of learning information begins to construct neurological circuits in your brain. And the more you learn information, the more circuitry you create in your brain, the more you have the raw materials in your brain to begin to think differently. So then as you begin to add new circuits to your gray matter, those new connections cause you to think in new ways. And as you begin to think in new ways, the act of thinking in different ways changes your mind. So as you begin to install the neurological hardware in your brain from the process of learning, the more you can think about it, the more you can contemplate on it, the more you review it in your mind, the more those nerve connections begin to form longer relationships. And we call that memory. So now, all of that philosophical information is for you to do something with. And so then when you begin to initiate that philosophy, when you begin to apply it, you begin to personalize it, you begin to demonstrate it in your life, if you can get your behaviors to match your intentions, if you can get your actions equal to your thoughts, if you can get your mind and body working together, you're going to have a new experience. Now, when you have a new experience, it's your senses that plug you into the environment. And as you're experiencing a new event, all that information rushes back to your brain, and all of a sudden those philosophical circuits where you intellectually understood something become enriched. That's what experience does. It enriches the brain. The moment those neurons begin to form networks and patterns, your brain makes a chemical, and that chemical is called a feeling or an emotion. And when you begin to feel flow, when you begin to feel the ease of connection, when you begin to trust in the unknown more, when you begin to believe in possibility more than you believe in your past, the moment you feel that emotion, now you are teaching your body chemically to understand what your mind is intellectually understood. It's the act of embodying that philosophy and turning it into truth. Now you're proving to yourself the truth of that philosophy, chemically instructing your body to understand what your mind is intellectually understood. So then it is the process of experiencing that emotion from your interaction with new information that begins to change your genetic expression. So then if you're able to do this properly once, you should be able to do it again. And it's the act of repeating something over and over again that causes you to neurochemically condition your mind and body to work as one. And when you've done something so many times that your body knows how to do it as well as your mind, now you're beginning to master that philosophy. It's innate in you. It's automatic. It's second nature. It's easy. You've practiced it so many times that you no longer have to consciously think about it, which means now it becomes a subconscious program. So it's my hope that after you leave this weekend, that you do something with this information, and to go from philosopher to initiate to master, from knowledge to experience to wisdom, from mind to body to soul, from learning it with your brain or your mind, practicing it with your hands and knowing it by heart, and to go from thinking to doing to being. And you have all the biological and neurological machinery to do this. And it's when you begin to apply these principles and not be afraid that you may fail or it may not work, but to begin to trust in its power. It's the act of stepping out into the unknown that begins to release a certain amount of energy for you to experience some type of flow in your life. So many people, they want flow in their life. They want to experience the ease in which things move and unfold around them as a result of their presence. And yet, the majority of people spend the majority of their conscious attention and energy clinging to the known. Why? Well, the brain is a record of the past. It's an artifact of everything you've learned and experienced to this moment. That means then, if you wake up in the morning and you're not being defined by an unknown vision of the future, you're left with the old circuits in your brain in the past. So you are going to be thinking in the past. By the same means, if you're waking up in the morning and you're believing in your past more than you're believing in your future, then it means then, by very nature, that when you wake up and come back to your senses and you see certain people and you go to certain places and you do certain things, it's your external environment that's influencing the way you think and the way you feel. And as long as you think and feel equal to everything that you know in your external environment, there is no flow in your life, there's just more of the same. So then, if you wake up in the morning and you search for the familiar feeling called you, and that emotion has become so redundant that it's normal and natural for you to feel bad or shameful or guilty or unworthy. That's just what you've got accustomed to living by. That emotion then is a record of the past, because all emotions are the end product of past experiences. So when you wake up in the morning and you feel those emotions, and those emotions are driving your thoughts, by very nature of the definition of an emotion, you are thinking in the past. So if you're thinking in the past, don't expect anything different to happen in your life, because there will be no flow. So most people then are clinging to the familiar, clinging to the known, clinging to the predictable, clinging to the place of certainty, because to them the unknown is too scary, it's too unpredictable. So they would rather hold on to their guilt than step into the unknown. They'd rather live in a state of fear than trust in possibility. And they can intellectualize and they can talk all they want about a future that they want to experience. And they can use the 5% of their conscious mind to try, to wish, to hope, to want, to force outcomes in their life. But if they're programmed subconsciously into lack and to unworthiness, they have their mind and body in opposition, and there is no flow in their life. The only time we experience flow is when we step into the unknown and we cannot predict an outcome. And sure, it's uncomfortable. And yes, there's some uncertainty. And of course, there's going to be some unpredictability. But that void, that place of the unknown, is where the magic happens. And so, getting comfortable in the unknown then causes us to take our attention and our energy off the past and begin to set our sights on a new future. And it's only when we overcome ourselves can we see a new future. Because for the most part, people are perceiving their life neurologically, emotionally, chemically through the lens of the past. So only when a person gets beyond themselves can they see possibility. And when they truly get beyond themselves for a moment, they begin to think about a future they want to embrace. And they're truly in the unknown. And they're so passionate about that intent. They're so focused on that possibility that they naturally begin to create the experience in their mind. And that experience in their mind begins to produce the emotion of the event before it takes place. It's the act of embracing that emotion then, before the the experience actually happens that begins to cause the brain and body to move from living in the past to living in the future. And your body is chemically and emotionally getting a sampling or a taste of the future. So what if then you did that every single day? Disinvesting your energy out of the past and reinvesting your energy into an unknown future. It would require you to begin to believe in a future that you can't see or experience with your senses yet, but you've thought about enough times in your mind that your brain is literally changed to look like that future has already happened. And the latest research in neuroplasticity says that's entirely possible. You are beginning to install the circuitry in your brain to look like the experience has already occurred, just by thought alone. And if you can begin to rehearse what you're going to do with all your wealth, all your freedom, all your abundance, all the love that you have, the act of mentally rehearsing who you're going to be when you open your eyes in that future further installs the neurological circuits in your brain for you to behave equal to your intention. And if you keep reviewing it enough times, it becomes a software program, and that becomes who you are, the very platform of your personality. Now here's the challenge. The challenge then is to begin to teach your body emotionally what your future is going to feel like before it happens. Now, to the materialist, to the person who defines reality with their senses, they normally and naturally wait for their abundance to happen to give gratitude, or a new relationship to feel love, or their healing to feel wholeness. They're waiting for their outer environment to change to fulfill some lack they feel inside of themselves. That's human nature, that's natural. But in order for you to become supernatural, you have to reverse the process. Because when you begin to feel the emotion ahead of the actual experience, it is the emotion that you're embracing that begins to signal new genes and new ways to physically change your body to look like the event has already occurred. And the research in epigenetics says that you can select and instruct new genes before the environment happens or changes. So what does that mean to you? That means then the moment you start feeling abundant and the moment you start feeling worthy, you're preparing your body for the experience. The more you are in love with yourself and the more you're in love with life, the more you are going to create an equal in your life. And the more you feel whole, and the more you feel worthy, and the more you feel gratitude, the sooner your healing begins. So then, reversing this process then, and getting up from your day in a different state of being, means then that you're going to have to maintain this modified state of mind and body your entire day. That's living in the unknown. Now, when you do that properly, you're connected vibrationally to a future. And if you do this for an extended period of time, reinvesting your energy into a new future, sooner or later you're going to start to see feedback in your life. And the feedback comes in ways that you would never expect, that surprise you, that catch you off guard. That's what the unknown is. Synchronicities and coincidences begin to happen in your life as a result of you just thinking about someone or something. And it's that common way of thinking, the relaxed way of surrendering to possibility, to trusting in an unknown or a future, that allows the universe to begin to conspire in ways equal to our intention or our energy. So then, when that flow begins to happen in your life, and you begin to prove to yourself that you are the creator of your life instead of the victim to the circumstances in your life, it's my hope that after the experience happens and you're caught up in the energy and the emotion of what you've just created, and your heart is open, and you're feeling more unlimited, and you're feeling more worthy, and you're feeling more joy, that you take that very energy and you reinvest it into the next experience for yourself. And of course, then, our limitations are only equal to our imagination. So there are great people at this conference that have a lot to say about connecting to that resource, that field of information called the quantum field. That field called the quantum field exists beyond your senses. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, you can't feel it, you can't hear it, and yet it's the very energy that's condensing thought into form and matter. So then, the more elevated your energy in your day, the more you are exchanging information in this field. The longer you can keep your energy up and be connected to a future instead of a past, the more you can maintain that state. The higher the energy, the more connected you are to that field, the more immediate effects you should see in your life. And of course, the unknown has nothing to do with scary and dangerous things. It has to do with experiences that create the emotions of awe and wonder and freedom and joy. The emotions that cause us to really question the nature of reality. And common people around the world are doing the uncommon. And I can tell you from experience, they look just like you. They're healing themselves of serious conditions, health conditions. They're creating mystical experiences that transcend language. They are healing from old scars and wounds that keep them anchored to the past. They're creating new jobs, new relationships, new opportunities as a result of being in the flow. So then, when you're in the flow, you're connected to something greater than you. When you're not in the flow, you feel separate from that field. And when you're experiencing separation, separation has everything to do with lack. It has everything to do with duality. And of course, we're waiting for something outside of us to change how we feel inside of us. And that's called being a victim. The true act of overcoming ourselves every single day, making the effort to become conscious of your unconscious thoughts. Write them down. Those are the thoughts that are standing in the way between you and your flow. Become aware of how you speak unconsciously. Notice how you behave. And begin to look at those unconscious habits and become so conscious of them that you'll never go unconscious again. And finally, look at those emotions that keep you anchored to the past and define them. Give them a name. You may become aware that you've been experiencing hatred and guilt your entire life and you didn't even know you were feeling those emotions because it just felt like you. And the moment you can put a name on it, and the moment you can become aware and look at yourself through the eyes of someone else, the act of observing those states of mind and body means you're no longer those programs. You're the consciousness observing those programs, and that's when you begin to disentangle from the old self. The act of doing that puts you in a space of possibility, not the particle in quantum physics, the wave of quantum physics, where all possibilities exist. And remember, the longer you linger in possibility, the longer you linger in the unknown, the more you'll create new experiences in your life. Try it out.